Hi and welcome to our next level 1 chance and data video. In this video we're just going to refer to probability and how we work that out using graphs. So straight into example 1. Here's a graph that represents the number of students from maybe a class, a couple of classes, and what month they were born in, their birthday. So the first question, how many students were in this sample? All we need to do to solve this problem is just go through and add up the height of each bar. In January there were 3 students, in February there were 5, in March there were 2, in June there were 10, that was the most common birth month, June. August there's only 1 student born in August. And if we add up all those numbers, I get, unless my mathematics is not correct, I get a total of 64 students. So that's the answer to the first question, 64 students in this sample. All right, here's part B. If a student is selected at random from this group, from this sample, what's the probability the student was born in December? Well, we know there's 64 students. We worked that out just before. And if we look at December, we can see there were just over 6, so that must be 7 students born in December. So the probability a student was born in December, we could write as our fraction 7 chances out of 64. Now you can leave your answer as 7 out of 64. It doesn't simplify, but you can divide it and turn it into a decimal or multiply it by 100 to get a percent. Either of those answers, remember, probability can be written as a fraction, a decimal, or a percentage. Right, part C. If a student is selected at random from the sample, what's the probability the student was born in a month with only 30 days? Oh, here we go again. I always forget that saying of how many days have 30 and 31. So once again, I have to resort to my knuckles. The only way I remember how many days have 30 and how many have 31. So there are April, June, September, and November. There are 4 months of the year that have 30 days. 4. So we know there's 4 out of 30. So we've got to go through April, June, September, November. So April, June, September, November. So let's add up all these students. So we have 3 students in April, 10 students in June, 7 students in September, 4 students in November. Out of the 64 students, that makes 24 students out of 64. That is the answer, but we can simplify it down to 3/8, or we can convert it to a decimal or a percentage if you prefer. Right, we're on to example 2, and this is not a bar graph anymore. It's a graph called a histogram, where we now put them into groups. So can you see there is 1 student that is between 140 and 145 centimetres tall? Can you see there are how many? 8 students. I'm looking at the blue bar. 8 students that are between 155 and 160 centimetres. So that's what we call a histogram. First question, how many students were in this class of 9WAN? Well, once again, we just have to go through and add up the height. 1 student, 2, plus the 3, plus the 8, plus the 3, plus the 1, plus the 2 and the 1. It all adds up to, I think I've got it correct, 20 students. 20 students in the class. Right, here's our part B. If a student was chosen at random from this class, what is the probability they were between 160 and 170 centimetres? So let's look at the graph. These students, this yellow bar and this orange bar, represent students between 160 and 170. So that represents 3 in the yellow bar and 1 in the orange bar. So 3 and 1 make 4 students in total. So that is 4 over 20. Remember, there's 20 students in this class. 4 over 20, you can simplify that down to 1/5 or change it into a decimal or a percentage. Right, and our last question, if a student was chosen at random from this class, what's the probability they're 160 centimetres or less? Well, here are all the students that are less than 160 or less. So once again, let's add them all up. So we're going to get 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 8. That makes 13 over 20. 13 over 20 doesn't simplify, but you can convert it to a decimal or a percentage if you prefer. Right, that's us for this video. Thanks for watching.